Hey team, here we are. This is a video accompanying my post on my website about signing up for a race and getting all the information for it. So we know how to sign up for a race. This is one that I'm signed up for tomorrow on the Cobbled Climbs Richmond course. So when I go and sign up for a race and I want to figure out my tactics for it, have an estimation of how I might perform in it in terms of results, things like that. This is my thought process. So I go to zwiftpower.com, I click on the event, and this is the screen that comes up. We can see the course. We can get a little description if we open that up. We can see who's signed up. We can see everyone's powers. Sometimes we can see their segment time on some of the segments. So a lot of information from this one website. The first thing I do real fast here is go down and just see who's in my race. And what you want to do is, to make it easier for yourself, is just click on your category. So I'm in the A category. I'm going to get rid of everybody else who's not racing in the A category. And that's useful because sometimes it can get confusing. This rider, for example, is technically a category B, but they're going to race in the A category. So it just can kind of trick you up, like, oh, who's where, So you just hit that A button. And you can see how many people are signed up. And this is just an estimation. Not everybody that races will have a Zwift Power account. So you might be against people that are not on this sheet. So that's the first thing to remember. You might come up with tactics based on an incomplete sign-up list for the race. But most people will be. And another thing to remember is that people that sign up last minute won't show up here. There is a little bit of a lag. When you sign up for a race, it takes some time to show up on Zwift Power. But generally, you're going to have a really good idea of who's in the race, their strengths, and things like that. All right, so the A category has 3 laps of the Cobbled Climbs. You can see just generally what the course is like. This is definitely a bumpy course down here on the second half. So you have Libby Hill, you go downhill. You have 23rd Street, you go downhill, and then there's an uncategorized or like an unnamed climb to the finish. So these little yellow markers here, 1, 2, and 3, those are the laps. So this is the completion of lap 1, completion of 2 and 3. So that's pretty useful to see where the lap is. So you go uphill, and then it does level out in that last straightaway. So there's all different courses out there in Zwift in real life. Some are more flat, some are more hilly. This is somewhere in between where it's these short anaerobic efforts that go up and down. So it's definitely not going to be an easy race to the finish line. It's going to be very challenging anaerobic efforts, and definitely going to use that aerobic system to recover or catch back up if you were dropped. So a lot can happen here. Before I go deeper into the numbers, I want to go a little bit more deeper into the course. We could go to zwiftinsider.com and search the course like so. And again, you'll get an idea of the course profile. This is really useful because they have the Strava links right here to the segments and also the route, so you can go to Strava and check that out. And a lot of times they'll give you, a lot of times, not every time, like on this one, they'll give you like a video of the course, and maybe they'll suggest equipment, bike, and stuff like that to use. So I clicked here on the Strava segment on the Cobbled Climbs, and what I like to do is to just find maybe my best ride on that course in the past. If I know that I don't have one, or like a really strong, hard effort, if I just was riding easy, then I might go down here and find one of the faster ones that people have done, men, women. You can find all different rides down here. But I know that I worked pretty hard at once upon a time on this course, so I'll just click on mine. First thing to look at is that one full lap, my fastest that I've ever done it, at 150 beats. I know I could go faster than that, but good ballpark number here is 13 minutes and 30 seconds. So 3 laps is going to be 13, 26, 39. It'll be about 40 minutes and 30 seconds, give or take, for the race tomorrow. About 40 minutes, give or take. Then I'm going to look at the climbs. Libby Hill KOM was a minute 35 there, a minute 13 there, a minute 30. So my fastest one at that many watts, that heart rate, I know I could go a little bit faster, but still, it's going to be about a minute of a hard effort on Libby Hill, the first one. Then 23rd Street was 33 seconds, 28 seconds, 36. So 28 at that much power. I could probably go a little bit faster, going nuts, but 25 seconds or so. That's a good ballpark number. And there, like we mentioned before, there's no segment for that finishing hill. It's kind of uncategorized. But what you could do is just hit analysis and find the fastest or the hardest you did in that event, and just kind of drag the cursor here. 478, almost a couple of minutes. That's a hard effort. Again, it'd probably go a little bit harder if I was going nuts, but I mean, that's not going to be faster than a minute and a half. So basically, we've got a minute, we got 25 seconds, we got a minute and a half. Those are all right there in that anaerobic zone, 30 to a minute and a half, anaerobic, glycolysis. So that's going to be tough. 3 in each lap, 9 total. By the end of the race, our anaerobic power might be a little less important than our aerobic power. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit more when we head back to our Zwift power. So that'll just give you an idea of what the race might be like. You got to have some good anaerobic power, but because there's so many of them, you also can't be a slouch aerobically either. So let's head back to our ZwiftPower.com of the race. All right, so the first thing that we want to look at, I always look at, is the 20-minute power. So I'm going to arrange each rider in descending order with their 20-minute power to weight. On Zwift, power to weight estimates your speed a lot more, even on the flats, a lot more than outside. So that's why I look at that power to weight first and put a little bit more emphasis on it. First thing to notice here is that everybody signed up is pretty close. I mean, it's basically from 4.4 to 4.9. That's not a very big spread in power to weight. Sometimes you have people that are on Zwift that are at 7 watts per kilogram. I don't know why they're not in the tour, but it's possible on Zwift. So that would be a huge spread there. If you got someone that's 4.8 and then 7, that person's going to make it hard. They're probably going to break away and solo away. If you had someone that was like 5.5, it might make it so hard that maybe people could stay on their wheel, but it's going to be really, really hard, and you're going to be hauling butt the whole time. It's going to be a fast race. But again, because this spread isn't too wide, it's going to be a pretty even race. I think there's going to not be people breaking away. There's not going to be a lot of people getting dropped either. So we might kind of stay together. And another thing to look at is the absolute power. So that does come into play for sure. Somebody who does 4.9 at 284 probably isn't going to go any faster than me on the flat, going 4.5 but 390. So that's another thing to look out for. Even if you're a little bit lower over here, are you higher in this column compared to the people up here? That goes with sprint power for 15 seconds as well, that we'll talk about in a second. But then you also want to look behind too. Maybe you have more power to weight than somebody, but maybe they have more absolute power. So sometimes you don't just want to look at the people that are ahead of you in watt per kilogram wise. Sometimes it's possible that someone's way higher absolute power. You got to watch out for them if they get off the front and solo away. But again, this example, this race here, we're probably going to be pretty even. No one's going to be soloing away, and a lot of people will probably stay together. Another thing here with the numbers that will help you figure out what kind of bike and equipment you want to select is this 20-minute power. Say you did have like a big spread here. Say you were maybe this 3.9 rider. This is going to be pretty challenging for you to hang with a group that has a bunch of upper 4 riders. So like no part of the course will be easy for you, including the flats and maybe even the downhill. The speed is going to be really high. So this is when you might consider using an aero bike. That way, the entire race, even the flats and the downhills especially, are easy for you. So you might have a better chance to recover after those 9 anaerobic efforts. So that's when you might use, especially consider an aero setup. If you're up here at this 4.9 rider, or even well, probably the Forge 7 because you're 363 watts. But again, the point is, if you're up here, then you know that you're not going to be dropped, that you can at least hold people's wheels. And the flats, and especially the downhills, are going to be really easy for you because you're just have more aerobic power than most of the race. So you're going to recover no matter what on those sections of the course. So that's when you might consider definitely using a lighter bike. That way you can take advantage on the uphills and try to get that separation from the people who are less aerobically strong. Even if you don't get away, again, you don't need the aeroness of your bike to recover. You're going to be able to do that anyway. So that's one way that you might use these numbers to figure out what bike you might want to use. It's all, I know I always go aero because at the end of the day, unless we're going up a huge, huge hill at the finish line, aero is going to be more important. Even going up these climbs, we're going to be going fast enough for aero benefits. So, let's be real, aero is king, but whatever makes you feel good and you feel confident with. So if we know that, for me, for example, it's going to be hard for me to break away because there's so many strong people, and it's going to be hard for other people to break away, we're probably going to finish in a sprint. So what we can do is look at the sprint power by either power to weight or for 15 seconds. So this rider here is a little bit higher up watt per kilogram wise. I'm a little bit higher up in terms of absolute power. He might have me just by a little bit, but it's not too far away. Depending on the power up, depending on tactics, that definitely you could overcome that. And even the 20-minute power, 4.5, 4.7, but 390, 363. So we're pretty evenly matched, but those are good odds. So I'd take those odds in a sprint. I would definitely not think about breaking away, and I would think about a sprint finish, because even behind me after that, my power to weight is higher, and also my watt per kilogram wise. So in theory, on paper, I should be right up there in a sprint. In theory, on paper, it'd be hard for me to solo away. And even though I already said I would go aero all the time, if I'm going to get within sight of the line with other people and it's going to be a sprint finish, the end of the race does level out here. So it does, after going up the hill, you got a good 40 seconds, give or take, at 1%. Still slightly uphill, but you're going to get going. This wasn't even a sprint finish here, and I'm already going 22 miles an hour. So aero is going to be important for the sprint. So I'm going to go aero bike. I'm going to not think about breaking away, and I'm going to think about trying to get within sight of the line with other people, try to use my tactics against this person in particular to get first place. So that's just how I go about using Zwift Power, Zwift Insider, Strava, the numbers to figure out tactics, have an idea of what kind of the race is going to feel like, and to figure out a realistic goal for the race.